It's Monday morning. The whole week is ahead of you. Then before you know it, it's Friday. Now life just feels like it's moving faster. I thought this was just part of getting older. I don't know anymore. I think I've been asking the wrong question. So if ever you found yourself wondering where the weeks and months and years have gone, I want to share with you 8 reasons why life feels as though it's speeding up, and what you can do to make the most of the years ahead. I left my business at 44 because I wanted to get my time back. I was done with the commute, I was done with the endless meetings, I was done with managing difficult people. I no longer wanted a calendar full of other people's priorities. I thought life would finally slow down, but here's what I've really found. At 65, the days feel as though they are moving faster than ever. They are definitely not slower. In fact, I would go so far as to say they are insanely faster. Now that doesn't make sense to me, so I started paying attention, and that's when I realised something. Having more time is not the same as experiencing more time. Working less gives you control of your diary, but it doesn't automatically give you control of your attention. And if you're not careful, you can end up just as busy doing meaningless things. These days, my diary isn't filled with staff meetings anymore. Oh no, but it is filled. And it's filled with different things. YouTube videos, family appointments, and a never-ending stream of little jobs that somehow expand to fill every single minute of every day. So if working less isn't the answer, what is it that makes the years feel so much shorter? I used to think that a quieter, less stressful, more predictable life would somehow make time feel longer. I can remember a day on holiday much more clearly than 3 ordinary weeks spent at home. Now, it's not because Portugal lasted longer, it's because that day was different to my normal routine. The place, the people, the conversations, the weather, the food. My brain had something new to hold on to, whereas 3 weeks of routine can sometimes merge into one. Now that doesn't mean routine is bad. I like routine. It gives my life structure. It makes things feel so much simpler. But when every Tuesday looks like the last one, and every week follows the same pattern, your memories can start to compress them together. That's why the years can feel as if they're flying by. Not because you had less time, but because you created fewer memorable moments. The real question isn't how do you slow down time? It's what makes one day stay with you forever, whilst another is forgotten completely. As a kid, life is full of milestones. Birthdays, Christmas, summer holidays, starting secondary school. And as a young adult, you've got learning to drive, your first job, your first house, getting married. The milestones just keep on coming. There's always something to look forward to. Then, without you really noticing it, life just becomes more stable, more predictable, certainly less stressful, boring even. Now, that's not a bad thing. It's probably what most of us work towards. But that stability, well, it's got a bit of a side effect. The milestones just get fewer and fewer, and they get to be further apart. And before you know it, the thing you're looking forward to is Christmas or your summer holiday. There might only be 2 or 3 big moments in an entire year. I've noticed that time feels different these days, especially when I'm planning a day of filming these videos. Maybe I'm out on location around York or out in the countryside up near here, up in the hills or at the coast, or if I'm looking forward to my annual trip to Portugal every December or Scotland in March. Not because the clock's changed, it's because part of me is already living towards that day. There's a sense of build-up, anticipation, and when the day finally arrives, it leaves a memory behind. That's something you create less, I think, as you get older. Less excitement, less anticipation. And that could be one of the reasons that the years start to feel like they're flying past insanely fast. So if anticipation helps a day last longer, what happens when you try to fill every quiet moment in between? I think back to how many little gaps there used to be in my day. In a typical day when I was working full time, there'd be quite a few of them. And that was before mobile phones were a thing. I'd be waiting for a train. I don't know, sitting quietly in the waiting room, or maybe standing in a queue at the bank or the post office, or waiting for someone to give me a lift to work. Back in those days, I couldn't afford to run my Ford Capri 5 days a week. Moments weren't exciting. You would actually have called them boring, but they were still very much a routine part of every day. You'd look around, you'd watch people, maybe you'd let your mind wander. Sometimes you'd even end up having a chat with a complete stranger. Who could imagine that these days? Now today, those little boring gaps, well, they've all but disappeared. But it's not because life is busier as such. It's because you now feel compelled to fill them. The moment you've got 30 seconds spare, out comes the mobile phone for a quick look at the news, or to read an email, maybe even reply to it. Watch a video on YouTube, scroll Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, or read some posts or comments on LinkedIn. It feels harmless, but is it? We often say life is going by too fast, and yet we spend our days fast forwarding through every quiet and boring moment that we get, as if there is an unseen pressure trying to optimize everything. Now, I find that a little odd. I'm not saying put your phone in a drawer or don't take it out with you. I use mine every day and it's always with me, and I'm sure you do too. Like everybody else in our age group and maybe under, that's what we do. Probably more than I should. But I've started doing something different lately. If I'm waiting anywhere for 5 or 10 minutes, I deliberately leave that telephone in my pocket, turned on silent. And do you know what? The world has become a much more interesting place as a result. I notice people now. I notice the buildings. I notice the conversations people are having. I might even do a bit of earwigging. I notice things I would definitely have missed. And I see things that give me ideas for these videos. Then, I have to admit, I do get my phone out just to make a note, just in case I forget. The grey matter isn't working quite as well these days. Somehow those few minutes don't feel quite so empty and boring anymore. But here's another thing I've noticed. Even when you put the phone away, you're often still not really present. Have you ever driven somewhere, but you arrive at your destination and you barely remember the journey? Your body clearly made the trip, but your mind was somewhere else. I think we do that with life. You can sit through a meal while thinking about other things. You can watch TV while checking your phone or reading something on your iPad. You can go for a walk and stress about some problem that turns out to be imaginary. You can even go on holiday and stress about things that are waiting for you when you get back to work in 2 weeks' time. Your body's in one place, your attention is somewhere else. It's in another place. Now, I've started to wonder, if your mind isn't really present, what memories do you have to hold on to? That's why some days seem to vanish. Not because they were short. I mean, let's face it, every day is 24 hours, whether you like it or not. It's because you were never fully present in the moment. I'm guilty of this. I notice it in myself. I can be out filming a video and catch myself thinking about all sorts of things. Finding time to do the edit, or what's the thumbnail going to look like, or maybe I'm thinking ahead to what the comments are going to be about. And I'm doing all those things instead of noticing where I am. So now I intentionally stop regularly, just for a moment, to mindfully live in the present and to look around, to notice the light, the trees, the sound of the wind, or whatever awesomeness nature offers up. And there's plenty. And those are the moments I remember, a life isn't made memorable by how many days it lasts, but by the number of days you actually intentionally live. It isn't just my own busy mind that can steal my time. Other people are perfectly happy to spend it for me. The moment you start cutting back your work hours, family start looking at your time very differently. You're free, aren't you? Can you do this for me? Can you pop around and take a look at this problem I've got? Oh, can you wait in? I'm expecting a delivery from eBay. Whilst I go out and enjoy myself with my girlfriends. Exactly. And before you know it, your Google Calendar is full of commitments again. Just like it was at work. But this time, it's a bunch of errands that improve somebody else's life, not yours. When I reduced my work commitments, I thought I had escaped other people's demands on my time. I hadn't. They just changed. It was no longer the demands of my clients or my work colleagues. It became favours for family. Little jobs here and there, fixing a bit of tech. I'm quite good at that. Organising something. I'm good at that too. Fortunately, no DIY projects. Now that I am crap at. But what are those things in reality? They're interruptions. Things that can only take 10 minutes until the whole day has gone when you add them all up. I think this is one of the biggest lessons of the last 20 years since I quit work. If you don't value your time, somebody else will. It's not because they're being particularly selfish. It's because you're making yourself available. Even now at 65, I'm still learning that. But the difference is I'm better at managing other people's expectations now than I was 20 years ago. You might have heard me talk about this in other videos. It's called the mushroom management strategy. Keep them in the dark and feed them crap. It works, trust me. But even if you do protect your time, there is one more trap. The most dangerous word in the English language. Later. When you're 25, later doesn't sound very far away. I'll take that trip later. I'll learn that skill later. I'll start that business later. I'll visit that friend later. And when you're young, well, later usually does arrive because you've got plenty of time. But somewhere along the way, with the passing of years, later changes. You start realising that later is not a date in the diary. It's an assumption. An assumption that you will have the time, the health, the energy and the opportunity later. Turning 65 and experiencing the deaths of family and friends, well, it's made me see the world and that word later just a little bit differently. I'm no longer stressed about wasting an afternoon. I am anxious of waking up and realising that I've spent another year waiting for later. Because here's the thing, life rarely arrives all at once. It happens on what I call ordinary Tuesdays. It happens on quiet walks in the countryside, over a cup of coffee, chatting with my wife, or learning a new skill. If you keep waiting for the perfect time, you can end up missing the opportunity. The biggest risk isn't necessarily that life is too short. It's that you keep postponing the parts that make it feel full until time actually runs out. So if you can't slow the clock down, what can you do? I think the answer is surprisingly simple. You need to create more days that your brain wants to keep a record of. After thinking about all of this, I've come to a simple conclusion. I don't think the answer is to try and slow time down. You can't, obviously. The clock is ticking down and that is not going to change. But the way you live each one of your days can. I don't think you necessarily need more excitement in your life. Frankly, I think that's a pursuit that'll make you unhappy. And I don't think you need more holidays. That'll probably just make you poorer and stressed. I don't think you necessarily need more money. Although it will help because, it can buy happiness, can't it? Well, exactly. What I do think you need is ordinary days that leave their mark. A day when you learnt something new, created something. For me, that's videos and sourdough bread. Where you visited somewhere different. Maybe you walked a different path, or even just sat quietly long enough without your face glued to your mobile phone to notice the moments in the day that you are already living. Time doesn't disappear, memory does. And when you give your brain something worth holding on to, time feels as though it stays with you longer. So these days, I am asking myself a very different question. Not where did the day go, but will I remember this day a year from now? Because if the answer is no, that's a cue to change something. What's your experience on this topic? Please share your thoughts in the comments, join the conversation. And if this video resonated with you, what's this one next? It's why you should manage your time differently after 60. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Everything